Zoning allows the local government to control the construction of buildings within the vicinity and is used to manage urbanization of a town or a city. That prevents incompatibility of land uses, but introducing a new mode of transport system has consequences that involves zoning incongruencies which can affect the people and its environment. Good day to our dear advisor, Architect Geronimo Lahom, also to Architect Maria Teresa Gopez, and the jurors. It is our pleasure to share with you our presentation. I am Mary Jane Caballero, together with my co-proponents, Jeric Sibucao and Larry Fernandez, presenting our concept paper entitled Interconnecting the Proposed Malolos Train Station with its Adjacent Zones Through Transit-Oriented Environment Adaptive Approach. The Philippines is recognized as one of the fastest-growing economies in Asia and Pacific since 2010 according to the World Bank Organization and is remained on its list until its last year of evaluation in 2020, which is influenced by unceasing massive infrastructure projects such as railways, airports, bridges, ports, and roads under the Build program of the national government that aims to usher the golden age of infrastructure. One of its projects is the NSCR, or the North to South Commuter Railway, handled by the Department of Transportation and the Philippine National Railways. The entire NSCR line is expected to have a ridership reach of 696,000 passengers daily by 2025 as estimated by the Asian Development Bank.
The project is composed of 36 stations covering a total length of 147 km and it is divided into 3 phases. This study will concentrate only on Malolos Station included in the first phase, also called the North Line, that runs from Malolos to Tutuban that started its construction in 2019. It is set to partially open by the last quarter of 2021 and be fully operational by the year 2022. Some of NSCR station will follow the old Manila-Dagupan Railroad wherein Malolos has an old abandoned station named Estación de Malolos, Ibaraswain that is shown above and now under the protection of the local government. The proposed Malolos station will be situated between the old Malolos station and a commercial building known as the Eco Commercial Complex in front of 2 public parks, namely the Malolos Mini Forest and the Provincial Capitol Park, which both within the premise of Bulacan Capitol Compound that comprises series of important institutional buildings in the province, such as the Bulacan Provincial Capitol, Malolos City Regional Trial Court, National Bureau of Investigation, Bulacan Provincial Jail, and the Bulacan State University. The station is directly adjacent to La Consolacion University, Philippines, and is surrounded by numerous commercial spaces such as Bulacan Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Building 1 and 2, Graceland Mall, and Centro Mall. These buildings are expected to be utilized the most by commuters from the said station.
Malolos serves as the capital city of Bulacan and the birthplace of the First Republic of the Philippines that aims to be the premier heritage city of the Philippines. As per the city's comprehensive development plan, year 2020-2025, it's the city's rich historical and cultural heritage that truly sets it apart. No wonder, it has several values in terms of historical and cultural context which ascend a different, distinctive identity to the city. This is where their advocacy came from to revitalize and flourish the Spanish colonial identity within its main street, which is gradually visible on the facade of the Walter Mart and Centro Mall along the MacArthur Highway.
Throughout time, as the city grows and develops, as seen in several infrastructure projects, including the proposed Malolos train station, carries an unwanted effect on its people and environment that leads us to be persistent in identifying these effects considering the context of Malolos. The problem of the study is stated as, how will the proposed train station affect the physical environment and avoid incongruencies with the adjacent developments in consideration with the activity patterns created by the users, the city's historical and cultural identity, and the natural environment in terms of disturbance and deterioration. That established our 3 concerns with activity pattern, the historical and cultural identity, and the environment. First, on activity patterns, growth in population is expected due to development of train as studied by different countries such as the Netherlands and Australia that causes a change or increase in the number of commuters since people are expected to choose public transport such as train rather than a private vehicle as a mode of transportation. Based on a survey conducted by the Asian Development Bank, 75% of passengers on Manila to Clark corridor were riding buses or jeepneys, while the remaining 25% were in private cars. It is estimated that 57% of public transport passengers will shift to the new rail services, as well as about 5% of private car users. Furthermore, the increasing number of commuters will cause changes in the existing commuting pattern of the main benefactor of the study that calls for additional demand for space that, if not be addressed, implies a border issue on congestion and chaotic activity patterns.
Since the proposed Malolos station will adopt a modern design, it can overshadow and threaten the value of some cultural heritage site of the city, like the provincial capital that is now under the Philippine National Cultural Heritage Act of 2009. Last concern is about the environmental context, where there is a threat on physical factor such as the incompatibility with the existing land use and potential conflict with other government infrastructure. Another factor foresighted when the train station operates is its potential to cause degradation of air, water, and soil which threatens the health and safety of the people and the neighboring buildings that all directly ingest the impact of train development. Thus, if will not be addressed and given a prior action can lead to creation of incongruent zones.
This enables us to establish our main goal, to present strategies in formulating congruent zones adjacent to the proposed Malolos train station, which is vital in creating a transitional development that will encompass the three major concerns of the study. To achieve this, conducting site inventory and observation of the proposed Malolos train station and its adjacent structure to develop a link between commuter flow and built environment in zones that can improve the user's activity pattern, traffic flow, and the general context of the sites. Conducting spatio-temporal analysis will allow us to determine the activity pattern created by Malolos local commuters. Interviewing the department head of the city planning and the development office, Engineer Eugene Cruz, ENP, project in charge on NSCR project, and DOTR railway sector, Engineer Jabo Buenaventura, for information which cannot be seen on the internet to further understand the proposed Malolos train station and heard it from two different agencies.
Next is to promote and preserve the historical and cultural identity of the city through interviewing the head of the arts and culture section of Malolos, Sir Jose Rolly Marcelino. This activity will involve conducting a photo documentation showing culture and history of the city and taking into account different approaches towards promotion and preservation that can be applied to the city of Malolos. Lastly, the study aims to minimize the negative impact of the train station on the natural environment by conducting an extensive analysis on NSCR's environmental assessment impact and learn the different approaches to redirect its effects.
Due to pandemic, some of activities mentioned will be hindered such as face-to-face interview and site observation. That is why most of the data needed will be gathered online. But if it is not sufficient, we are certain to follow safety protocols to acquire all necessary information on hand. In that case, identifying the proper zoning approach and ordinances should be observed and implemented. Smart growth is a zoning approach can be incorporated in transit-oriented development or TOD, which means integrating urban places within a half-mile or 800-meter which are designed to bring people, activities, buildings, and public space together with easy walking and cycling connection between them and near excellent transit service to the rest of the city. This makes it possible to live a lower stress life without complete dependence on car or mobility and survival.
Towards resilience in the built environment theory focuses on addressing long-term value of the built environment and recognizes its changing conditions to determine the most probable approaches to planning, design, operation, management, value, and governance. in such a way that the future developments can adapt to the existing developments in order to create harmony on streets. This theory is in line with the concept of environment adaptive architecture that responds to the natural surroundings such that the distinctive identity and historical and cultural context of the city, town, or province is considered together with respect on the natural environment.
Revitalize inactive spaces, why it happens, and how effective transit-oriented environment adaptive can help the Malolos local commuters, which is the main benefactor of the study that aims to establish a transitional space linked to the train station that satisfies the public transport journey of the daily commuters, and create a comfortable and interactive environment to enhance the user's experience. The field of architecture will also benefit from the study since we aim to formulate an effective strategic framework planning solutions that serves as a guideline in producing a design template for an effective transit-oriented and environment adaptive, the same manner that the local government of Malolos and the provincial government of Bulacan will also benefit from obtaining zoning congruencies, supporting environmental protection and preservation of historical and cultural identity. Furthermore, this study is contemplated to have an effective, accessible, and pedestrian-friendly transitional space in the city of Malolos.
To recap, our study's main source of concern is the proposed train station and its direct effect on activity pattern, historical and cultural identity, and environmental factors. Activity pattern of the users will change in terms of commuting pattern, increase in number of users as well as additional demand for space. Another is in terms of the effects on historical and cultural identity, such as the design incompatibility which declines the historical value and advocacy of the city. Environmental factors should not be set aside since it is assessed to potentially cause incompatibility with the existing land use, degradation in air, water and soil, and threat to people's health and safety.
These factors establish the problem on zoning incongruencies that implies issues on chaotic commuting patterns for it causes foot congestion and lack of undesignated pedestrian-friendly space that could lead to adaptive difficulty. Attributed to devaluing the historical and cultural identity of Malolos as for having character execution and being out of design that creates a loss of compositional flow on the entire street. With regards to natural environment disturbance, is where non-conforming spaces and natural environment degradation arises.
This constitutes the goal to present strategies and formulating congruent zones that encompass activity pattern, historical and cultural identity, and natural environment with the objectives to develop strategies in preventing zoning congruencies wherein theories on zoning ordinance and transport policy and practice are concerned. Also, to develop a link between the commuter flow and the built environment and to redirect impacts of the built environment towards the theory on built environment resilience, which brings a development that is adaptive to the existing development to create a rhythm with the neighboring buildings. These theories are strengthened through approaches in zoning, smart growth that supports an effective commuting planning and layout, and compatible zoning code under the transport policy and practice, transit-oriented development that promotes the basic mode of transportation which is cycling, walking, and public transit. Lastly, environment adaptive architecture consider the physical environment and identity execution with regards to the condition of city of Malolos.
Interconnecting zones using principles towards a better commuting experience and balance between the natural and built environment are consolidated for the birth of this book entitled Interconnecting the Proposed Malolos Train Station with its Adjacent Zones Through Transit-Oriented Environment Adaptive Approach. That ends up our presentation. Once again, I am Mary Jane Caballero.
I'm Larry Jr. Fernandez.
I'm Jeric Sibukaw. Thank
Thank
you
you and may God bless us all.